Double tap is finally back in Black Ops 6 Zombies, and I spent the last several days testing out everything I could think of. Wonder weapons, kill streaks, special, elite, and even main quest boss zombies. I've counted hundreds, over 1,000 bullets. I've counted pixels, I've counted frames. I've done too much math, I have too many stats and too many graphs, all in an effort to figure out exactly how double tap actually works. As always with these analytical videos, be sure to use the chapters below to skip to whatever section you're most interested in, or to the end for the final results. I think I might have had too much fun testing out all of these augments. This might be the most dynamic perk we have in Black Ops 6, next to Juggernog and Deadshot. But enough of the chit chat, we've got too much to cover. Let's start talking about base double tap by default. Double tap by default simply increases your weapon fire rate. Probably one of the most bare bones perks we have in Black Ops 6, but this does exactly what it says. But just how much does it increase your rate of fire? Well, as you can see, it increases your rate of fire by about 26%. Although it might just be 25, but a majority of the guns that I tested actually got 26%, but it's probably just 25. Now, 25% is very noticeable, and compared to the original double tap or double tap 2.0 from Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 3, I believe those original double taps gave a 30% or 33% rate of fire increase. So at its base, this double tap is a little bit weaker than the double tap of the past. And of course, this is not double tap 2.0. You're not doubling your damage. You're not getting any sort of extra damage with base double tap. It is just strictly the rate of fire increase. In fact, let's show you the raw data. I tested out quite a few different weapons. I tried to get a good range of weapons. This is just my rate of fire calculator. I tested out how many rounds I shot, how many whole seconds, how many frames in my editing software, and then I did some fancy math stuff, and then I got the rate of fire down here. But this is the chart that you're probably most interested in. Right here, we have the base rate of fire of all of these different weapons. We have the base double tap, and then a little spoiler alert here, we have the double time. In fact, let's hide that. Now, you might look at this and go, well, donuts, the average is like 23%. Where'd you get 25%? Well, if we look at little guns like the Sarkov and even the Maelstrom, which I know the Maelstrom is fully automatic, and I did test it out being fully automatic, but for some reason, these two weapons didn't give me a huge increase with base double tap. I really am puzzled with the Maelstrom, but the Sarkov, it kind of makes sense because it's semi-automatic and it's a slow fire rate already. But if we were to take out the outliers, you can see there's a very consistent 25+% increase with just your base double tap. As for these two outliers, why they're outliers, I'm not entirely sure. The Sarkov could just be my trigger finger, but I'd like to think that I can shoot faster than 235 rounds per minute. Even still, I'm confident enough to say that most things get a 26% increase. But even now, with base double tap, we can start talking about some fun stuff. For example, base weapons are not the only thing that get affected by the base double tap rate of fire increase. That's right, you probably know this already, but wonder weapons, and yes, even the hand cannon, gets an increase in rate of fire. And saying this now, I completely forgot to test the War Machine, but I would bet this would be similar too. But I know at least the hand cannon does get an increase with double tap. The Beam Smasher fires faster, the Ice Staff fires faster, and yes, even the Wonderwaff and the ray guns on Shattered Veil fire faster. And yes, you're getting that 27% increase even here. And in a hilarious twist and a secret downside of double tap is that it makes the jet gun worse. Because the rate of fire is increased, the jet gun is using ammo faster, which means you have less time in your suction of the jet gun to kill all the zombies. So yeah, it actually gets pretty, 23% worse. So if you're using the jet gun strategy on Liberty Falls, it might be in your best interest to not get double tap. And yes, the hand cannon does get an increase in fire rate, even though, like, how useful is that? Even if the War Machine did get it too, how useful is that really? It's kind of fun. It's a cool little, not Easter egg, but just fun thing to have in there. And I can also confirm all of this stuff that we're going to talk about, especially with like damage and everything moving forward, it's going to work with the CHF barrel, rapid fire, CRYOFREEZE, and vulnerability. But now we need to talk about the secret downsides of double tap. The belt fed attachment, much like the jet gun, I'm going to say is quote unquote nerfed by this or suffers from this. Because you are going through your ammo faster, it means you're going to get cooldown quicker, but I don't know how big of a deal that is. Plus, as you can see from the gameplay behind you, they buffed the belt fed attachment, which is great, but they also kind of broke it. It looks like. I don't know what this is. It's allowing me to shoot even when it's overheated. It took such a long time to overheat. I don't know if that's intended or not. I know in the most recent blog post, they said that they want those kind of aftermarket part type attachments to be a little bit stronger in zombies. So the conversion kits, the belt fed attachments are a little bit stronger. I don't know if they meant to be this strong, but it's hilarious. And yes, even when you add on double tap, it does make the cooldown happen sooner. So it is a little bit worse, but then you're still shooting the same amount of shots. So it's kind of the same, but just a little different. I don't know. It depends on how you look at it. But now it's time to talk about one of the biggest misconceptions in Call of Duty Zombies history. There is this bit of misinformation that even the original double tap, and now I'm seeing it here with this double tap, is just a waste of ammo. This logically doesn't make any sense. The reason people feel like double tap is a quote waste of ammo is because when you have an increase in rate of fire, it makes it feel like the recoil is more. And I did the testing on this, and this is somewhat true. It's not really actually true. Let me walk you through what's happening. When you shoot your gun in Call of Duty, your gun will shoot up and to the right or up and to the left or down or whatever. After the recoil is applied, there is a certain amount of time that I've come to know as center speed. This is how long it takes for your gun to come back to where you're aiming, the center of your screen. If your gun has a really fast center speed, then that means it's going to be returning to your aim really quickly. If a gun has a really slow center speed, it means it's going to take a long time for your gun to come back to resting or come back to where you're aiming. Additionally, when you get an increase in rate of fire, it naturally means that your gun has less time to come back down to where you're aiming before the next bullet is shot and your new recoil is applied for the next shot. And so statistically speaking, this double tap or an increase in rate of fire does not make your recoil more. It doesn't increase anything numerically. The only difference is that you don't have as much time in between shots for your gun to come back down to rest. However, this does affect your recoil in some way that I don't know how to describe. So I think layman's terms here, it increases your recoil, even though it actually doesn't increase your recoil. I just don't know how else to describe this. That being said, as long as you're hitting your shots, this is not a waste of ammo. But I think this is important to bring up because especially once we get to the double time augment, there are some guns that are legitimately difficult to control with their recoil. And having that rate of fire increase can make that more difficult. But I just want to clarify, I want to be specific that the rate of fire increase does not technically increase any value of recoil whatsoever. It just means you have less time for the gun to come back to rest, thus resulting in your recoil just happening more quickly, I guess? I don't know how to say it. You guys are smart. You guys understand. Let's move on to some fun augments. While we're on the topic of a rate of fire increase, let's look at the minor augment double time. Double time gives us a whopping 44% increase in our rate of fire compared to the base. With the 14% increase from the double tap base rate of fire, we'll get to that. It has the same exact downsides and it does still affect wonder weapons and kill streaks and all that stuff. Let's show you. So back in this chart, we have the new double time augment rate of fire and we have two comparisons here. Now I'm going to hide this one first because this is the thing that makes the most sense. This is a percentage increase versus the base rate of fire. And once again, you can see it's very consistently like 44%, again, with our two outliers being the Sarkov and that Maelstrom. If we take those out, we get our 45% increase there, which is pretty awesome. That is at least 10 or 11% more than the original double tap back in Black Ops 1 and double tap 2 and Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 3. This thing is insane. Now, I also did this percentage versus the base double tap. This is just this rate of fire versus that rate of fire. So when looking at your base double tap, when you add on the double time augment, you're going to get an additional like 14% increase versus your base double tap. But then I didn't know how to phrase it because do I go with the 40%? Do I do, hey, you're gaining like 20% extra from just the difference? Or however you think about it. I'm sorry it's confusing. If anything else, just remember it's 44% increase from no double tap whatsoever, which is insane. It's genuinely crazy. The compact SMG, the fastest firing rate SMG without rapid fire, dang it, I forgot to test it with rapid fire, but without rapid fire shoots at 1,500 rounds per minute. It's crazy. Also, that might be a gun that you might not want this crazy rate of fire because, well, first of all, it's already crazy enough, but second of all, that recoil might be too much to handle. But again, this does affect the poor jet gun, taking away 2 precious seconds of our jet gun being able to fire. So whatever you do, don't run the fire rate augments with the jet gun or even the alternate fire of the beam smasher. I mean, this is a pretty fast rate of fire, and really you do want that to last really long. I don't know exactly how it works, but you want to stun enemies as long as you can. But hilariously enough, this works with the ice staff. And I should mention, it doesn't work with charging the ice staff as far as I can see. I tried to test it. It's really hard to tell when the ice staff is fully charged. But in terms of the single shot of the ice staff, yeah, you can get it going pretty fast. It's very noticeable. And unfortunately, I forgot to mention this, but the swords on Citadel de Mort are not affected by a double tap, unfortunately. I cannot overstate how game-changing just this rate of fire increase is, especially with double time. In terms of damage per second, that is a 44% increase in damage per second. As we're about to see, there are 2 different sides of the damage per second equation that double tap affects. The rate of fire is clearly affecting the time or the seconds it takes you to deal damage. However, now it's time to talk about the augments that deal with damage. And let's start light with Double Jeopardy. Double Jeopardy says, normal zombies at low health have a chance to die immediately when shot. This one was surprisingly the simplest augment out of all of this. I got some zombies on low health, I put on this augment, and then I counted the pixels of how many pixels a zombie has, and then I got a good handful of times where a zombie was insta-killed thanks to Double Jeopardy. You can see this is indicated by the marked for death icon in your score feed, and the highest percentage pixels that I got was about 20 to 25% of the zombie health. Now, if you're asking me, I'd be willing to bet that anything this is a 20% number here. That's exactly what death perception is with special and elite enemies with their elemental damage. And when zombies have thousands and thousands of health points and you're dealing with, hundreds of pixels, there's going to be some rounding. So I'm guessing it's 20%. However, it could be higher, 25%, but I'm confident it is at least 20%. And luckily, this works with every single thing in the game. Explosive weapons, equipment, Molotovs are fantastic for this. From what I can tell, ammo mods work with this. This is a really cool augment. And if we're talking mathematics, well, I did some math here. On the left, we have the regular zombie stats. We have each round and how much health a singular zombie has for that round. And it goes all the way up until round 55. You could see this blue graph right here, a blue line on this graph. That's the base zombie health. Assuming 20% health is when Double Jeopardy activates, this is how much health or how much damage you are saving by running Double Jeopardy. And this 80% health is how much damage or how much health the zombie has if every single zombie actually died at 20% of their health. And so theoretically at health cap, you would only need to deal 40,000 damage to a zombie as opposed to 50,000 damage because that's 20% less. And with most guns dealing between, 3, 4, 5, 6,000 damage, that's at least a couple bullets saved. However, you still need to shoot the zombie to initiate the Double Jeopardy, so it's like 1 bullet saved. So it's a couple bullets saved, which, it comes in handy. It's not a bad thing, especially, like I said, if we're talking, you do dead wire. This is one of my favorite things. You activate a horde with dead wire with extension and lightning strike. That takes them down, as we know, to 60% or to 40% of their base health. Then you throw down a Molotov, you let them run in it, and that will get you some insta-kills from Double Jeopardy. It is not insignificant. However, I do believe that it's the weakest augment here in Double Tap. Speaking of weak augments, let's talk about Double Play. Killing 2 enemies in quick succession will have a chance to return 2 rounds to your magazine. Only applies to normal bullet weapons. Now, this one is really difficult to test because what exactly quantifies as a double kill? How do I know that the game counts it as a double kill? Well, my theory was turning on the score feed whenever I saw the ×2 number next to a zombie kill, that counted as a double kill. If they were split, if they were spread out, maybe it didn't count. And for the life of me, I don't know how to test whether or not that's true. And so unfortunately, I don't know exactly what counts as double kill. However, to test this, I took a shotgun and I upgraded it really high so that it was like an instant kill. And then I got 2 and only 2 kills, and I counted those as double kills. This is important because if I were to test this with multi-kills, say I got that same shotgun and then I shot 1 shot and I killed 4 enemies? Is that one instance of a double kill, or is that back-to-back instances of a double kill? Or do the first and second kill count as a double kill, and then also the second and third kill count as a double kill, and then the third and fourth count as a double kill? Or even, you know, the first and fourth, if they're fast enough, do they all like overlap as double kill? Who knows? I have no idea. So the best way to isolate my variables was just to get 2 and only 2 kills to isolate my variables. And as you can see here, I did just that, and frustratingly, this does not activate very frequently. In 50 double kills, that's 100 kills, it got activated 6 times, which is about 12%, but if I'm being honest, I'm gonna guess it's 10%. I put a little asterisk there. I know that's like the least scientific thing you would expect from me, but in practicality, the reason I stopped doing this is because nobody's playing that way. Nobody's just getting 2 kills at the same time. You're shooting into the entire horde. And when I did that, look at this footage. Shooting into this horde got me so much ammo back. Now I know I'm using a shotgun. It's the whole horde. I'm hoarding it up. But man, this was incredibly effective. I barely lost any ammo during these rounds. Now, I don't know exactly how to quantify that. I mean, shots fired versus shots, you know, received back. I don't know. The best way to think about this is, yes, you have maybe a 10% every double kill, but that compounds to your triple kills, your quad kills, your whole hordes. This augment is phenomenally paired with shotguns and sniper rifles. I wish I had a more tangible and practical number, that is, but hopefully the gameplay behind you shows you just how fun and effective it can be. However, the fun stops there, because in terms of what counts as double kills or what weapons that you'll get ammo back on, well, it does not affect, as it does clearly say in the description, it does not affect non-regular bullet weapons. So the dissector doesn't affect it. Wonder weapons, that would be crazy overpowered, but yep, naturally doesn't affect that. The explosive weapons like the GS45, the LR762 doesn't affect that. You're not getting your rounds back for your Stallion Force. Doesn't include melee weapons or even gun butts. I tried butting, like meleeing with just my gun out, doesn't count. Doesn't count kill streaks. That would be crazy overpowered with like the War Machine or the hand cannon or something. It doesn't work with equipment, so you can't just like throw down a Molotov and get a whole bunch of ammo back, even though I think that would be really cool. And it doesn't work with field upgrades. So whenever you see that only affects bullet weapons, this is kind of the batch of things that it will not affect. But overall, this double play is kind of a sleeper augment. In any other perk, it might be really good. But we're talking about double tap, and now things are about to get nutty. Double standard. All non-critical shots do double damage, only applies to normal bullet weapons. This does as advertised. Whenever you don't get a critical kill with a normal bullet weapon, it's gonna be doubled with this augment. And unfortunately, this does not affect the dissector, any wonder weapon, any explosives like the GS45, oh my goodness. This doesn't affect melee weapons, kill streaks, equipment, field upgrades, and heartbreakingly, this does not affect the Sentinel artifact boss fight. I am going to show you my footage because I don't want to believe this is true. But I've got footage of me not using this augment, and then I switch augments, I save and quit, and I come back to the boss fight, and I put on this augment, and it does not affect anything. I would like to say that this is a bug or a glitch or unintended, but I think this is pretty intended. The Sentinel artifact is a very unique boss, and I'm sure they thought of exactly this, and the thought of like the Sentinel artifact's already not that bad to take care of, so the thought of us literally doubling our damage might not be a great idea. However, this does affect all of the other bosses. Patient 13 specifically, when paired with the right elemental weakness, you could get some really good damage on Patient 13. But this does also affect slugs, and it affects Dragon's Breath on shotguns. And I am going to say that yes, this does affect armor, but it affects the damage you get through the armor. I have never been able to have a definitive way of testing armor durability on zombies, so if you have any ideas of how I could do that, please let me know. But the damage you are dealing through the armor is indeed increased by this augment. However, I have to say this. Most weapons have like a 4 to 5 to 6 times headshot critical shot multiplier, meaning that if you're dealing like 5,000 damage as a critical shot, you might only be dealing like 1,000 damage in a normal body shot. And so when you put on double standard, yes, that body shot's gonna be 2,000 damage, but that's just such a small fraction compared to what you could get with a critical shot. So yes, this does increase your damage, but it's only increasing the damage when you miss. And so as I was testing this, especially when I looked at the other augments, I thought, dang, this augment is kind of basically worthless. Like there's no situation I could ever see myself running this absolutely garbage augment. The only way would be if there's like a weapon class that like didn't have a headshot multiplier or that big of a headshot multiplier. Oh yeah, shotguns exist. And beautiful people, shotguns, just run this augment with shotguns because it's double tap 2.0 right here. Here it is. Because like I said, the shotguns don't have a high headshot multiplier. Your body shot, in the case of at least this Maelstrom here, your body damage is the exact same as your critical damage. So when you use double standard to double your body shot damage, you're basically doubling your damage. Please, please, please try this with Vulnerabine and the Elemental Weakness on like an Amalgam or the Disciple, because dang it, this is so fun. If you're running a shotgun, you are doing yourself a disservice not running double standard. You could also make an argument for sniper rifles here as well, even though snipers have such a huge headshot multiplier too. They also just have a lot of good damage, and it is hard with the slower rate of fire of snipers that when you do get a body shot, you might want a little bit of extra damage because every shot matters because that rate of fire is so slow. I could see some justification for this augment too. So this augment is actually one of the strongest, at least when it comes to snipers and shotguns. And it only gets better because now we get to talk about double impact. The final major augment here, double hits on the same target in quick succession deal more damage. And beautiful people, I was dreading testing this out. I'm like, how many times are we going to increase damage? How many times is it? Like 3, 4, 5 shots? If I miss once, will it be gone? If I shoot another zombie, do collaterals ruin it? How am I going to test it? It's really easy. You have your base damage and then you shoot the zombie again and you deal 50% more damage. In terms of the window you have to get that successive shot, you get a whopping 3 seconds, which is such a long amount of time in zombies time. In addition to that generous 3-second window, you can miss a shot, you can shoot another zombie and return to that zombie and still get the 50% bonus damage. This is amazing. However, despite the augment description not specifying, this also only applies to regular bullet weapons. So once again, the Dissector, all of the wonder weapons, the Salient Force and the explosive weapons, melee weapons, kill streaks, equipment, field upgrades, and yes, the Sentinel artifact are not affected by this augment. However, once again, armor is affected. That is, the damage through the armor is affected. Like I said, alternating zombies, missed shots, special and elite enemies, and yes, even bosses. Patient 13, the Z-Rex are affected by this, and I did put a slug/dragon's breath question mark. The slugs for sure, yes, it's affected. The dragon's breath, I'm unsure. I don't know, because when you shoot like 5 pellets out of the shotgun of dragon's breath, I don't know what it's counting as successive. I don't know which one's coming first or second. It was really difficult for me to tell whether or not I was actually dealing that increased in damage, and the damage numbers are so different with Dragon's Breath and just shotguns in general. It was really difficult to tell. But this augment, in my opinion, is the single best, most consistent augment you can run, and I'm going to have a hard time running anything other than double impact. Every other bullet dealing 50% extra damage is an average of a 25% damage increase. And for comparison, Deadshot gives you a 10% damage increase, and then when you add the augment to further increase your damage, it increases it by another 5%, giving you a 15% damage increase, which by the way is just for critical damage, I should point out. However, double impact, no matter if it's critical or regular, you could even shoot a non-critical, and then when you shoot the second shot, the bonus damage shot as a critical, the critical damage will be bonus 50%, which means that on average, with one bullet doing normal damage, one bullet doing 50% damage, that's an average of 25% extra damage, which is stronger than Deadshot. And you get a 25% rate of fire increase by default, which you can increase to 44% too with the minor augment. It's insane. Now, of course, this is all theoretical. Obviously, you're not getting every single shot as a critical shot. Sometimes you're not taking advantage of that 3 seconds. Sometimes you're not pairing up your bullets in pairs of 2 to get that extra 50%. But the potential this has is so huge. And we're going to take a look at how this affects high rounds, believe me, but we have one final augment to look at, and that is double or nothing. Weapons have a chance to do double damage, but also have a chance to do 0 damage. Now, just like the double kills, I had to be very careful not to get any sort of collaterals or any sort of penetrating damage from the zombies. So I went on directed mode, I got myself the DM10, and then I spent hours counting every single shot, whether it was regular damage, double damage, or 0 damage. And I did this about 100 times. And I thought that might be a good sample size, but that was actually pretty quick. Let me do another 100. And my numbers kind of significantly changed. So I thought, oh my goodness, I better do another 100. And then my numbers kind of changed again. And so I said, you know what? We're going to spend the next couple hours here. And I counted a whopping 1,000 shots of this DM10 on round like 7 or 8 or 9 or whatever on Liberty Falls, and I recorded whether it was regular, double, or 0 damage. This took so long. Oh, this was torture. This was torture. But as you can see, 812 shots were regular damage, which is a lot of regular damage. That was a lot more than I initially thought. I thought this would be way more of a gamble. I thought they would make it like crazy fun, 50-50 shot or 55-45 shot. No, that's not exactly how it is. Out of the 1,000 shots, 144 of them were double damage, and only 44 out of 1,000 shots were 0 damage. This is incredibly advantageous, which means on any given shot you have with double or nothing, you have an 80% chance it's going to be regular damage, a 15% chance it's going to be double damage, which is pretty darn good, and then a 5% chance that it's going to be 0 damage, which is also really good. In terms of the actual split between double and 0, if you're curious, it's about 25-75% split. I think a lot of you beautiful people thought of that too, or came up with that. I think on Twitter, one of you guys messaged me. Thank you for that, by the way. You guys are awesome. I love the analytic stuff you guys got going on, helping me out. Basically, it breaks down. You have an 80% chance to do regular damage, and then with that other 20%, 75% of the time it's going to be double damage, and then 25% of the time it's going to be 0 damage. Or if you want to think of it holistically, you have a 15% of dealing double damage, 5% chance of doing no damage, which is incredible odds. The house is losing this one. And once again, this works on the armor damage that, gets through the armor. Dragon's Breath, again, so hard to tell. I couldn't really tell. I don't know, it works on slugs, but it also works on bosses. And the fact that this is a minor augment, and then like this and this are major augments, especially with shotguns, you could get quad damage. Oh my goodness, we're getting ahead of ourselves. The huge downside of this is, yet again, even though the augment description does not say this, our most beloved weapons and equipment and everything doesn't work with this. The dissector doesn't work with it. Wonder weapons, I mean, that would be kind of crazy if wonder weapons worked for that, right? Explosive weapons though doesn't work with it. I don't know if that's a bug or a glitch, or maybe in all of this testing I got this wrong. Please let me know if I got this wrong, but hopefully I'm showing you gameplay proof of all of these things that it just doesn't work with these things, which is kind of a shame. I feel like we're seeing a lot of like hidden, quote unquote, hidden downsides of double tap, even though a lot of these augments do a lot of great work. But now you might be thinking, Donuts, what augment combination is the best? And do certain things stack with one another? Like this double or nothing, does it stack with double standard or double impact? Well, believe it or not, absolutely, double or nothing does just straight up stack with double standard and double impact, meaning that yes, you can deal a critical shot that's 50% more, and then double or nothing doubles it, so it's like 300% more. Same thing with this non-critical double damage, especially with the shotguns. Pairing up the shotguns with this double damage, you get like a 15% chance of doubling that double damage. It's as crazy as you think it is. And the whole time I've been testing out all of these different combinations with all the things that do and don't work, it's been incredibly fun, especially the boss fights. The boss fights are crazy fun. With something like the Z-Rex, you're missing, at least I'm missing a lot of shots. I'm not getting a lot of critical shots, so you might want to double your non-critical damage. But then again, you're missing out on that basically 25% increase in damage of that entire fight. But now there's this question of, okay, double or nothing will give you a 15% chance of doubling your damage, but then double time will get you a 44% increase in rate of fire. So what do high rounds look like with all of these different augments? Well, I've got the stats. And the first thing I want to show you is a little comparison with double or nothing and double impact kind of by themselves. So here I did a theoretical weapon, and there's 100 shots of this theoretical weapon. This theoretical weapon deals 100 damage. With double or nothing, sometimes it'll be double damage, sometimes it'll be 0 damage. And out of this 100, because it has a 15% chance of doubling it, I put in 15 doubles, and with the 5% chance of 0, I put in 5 zeros, which averaged our damage to about a 10% increase. This is important because double or nothing, this 15% at double damage feels like a lot. Oh my goodness, I'm doing double the damage, especially if it's a critical shot. Oh my goodness, it's amazing. But in all actuality, this data over time, especially with the zeros and the 80% just normal damage, on average, you're only dealing like 10% more damage. Double impact, on the other hand, every other shot is going to deal 50% more damage, so 1,000, 1,500, so it's not as much as 2,000, but it's more consistent over time. And so that is averaging, again, 25% increase in damage over that 1,000. But what happens when you combine these guys together? Again, theoretical here, if you're hitting all critical shots, you're alternating shots, and you guys understand. Well, surprisingly, I split up the doubles and the zeros as evenly as I could, and what do you know, I get an average of a 35% increase in damage, which sounds really good. And that makes sense too. 10% plus 25 is 35. But I thought this was a good visual here. So again, the spreadsheet is linked in the description if you want to see it. So a 35% increase to our damage per second in our base damage is awesome. But what about that rapid fire though? Well, this is where things get a little nuts. This is how high rounds look with double impact and double time. In my opinion, the two strongest pairings of double tap. Double impact, that 50% increase in damage every other shot, and that even further increase in rapid fire. Now these charts, again, like I just said, these are theoretical 100% accuracy on critical damage, never missing a shot, never needing to reload, all that sort of good stuff. I ranked up the Kilo to Pack-a-Punch tier 3 legendary, and I got myself the highest damage that it could go. And then I calculated a 25% increase, even though I know I had the 50% bonus damage, it was like 7,000 something. On average, we're going to be doing 25%. So I went with a 25% increase for double impact. And then I calculated the rate of fire, the base Deadshot or double tap rate of fire, and then the double time rate of fire, that further rate of fire increase. Yeah, the Kilo dealing like 1,200 rounds per minute. That is crazy. So before double tap was released, let's actually zoom in a little bit here. Sorry, I know it's hard to see. Without double tap, before double tap was released, the Kilo would deal like 65,000 damage per second, which honestly isn't terrible, but it's nothing to write home about. But then just putting on double tap increases that to 84,000 damage per second. That's more like it. Putting on double time increases it to 95,000 damage per second. And then adding on double impact, well, you can't have double impact as well as no double tap. You have to have double tap if you want double impact. So this square is impossible for all these guys. Hopefully that makes sense to you. But with double impact and just the base rate of fire of double tap, you're dealing 106,000 damage per second. So you can run double or nothing. You can run that ammo one that gets you ammo back, and you would still be doing over 100,000 damage per second. However, when you add on the 44% increase in rate of fire with double time, you're dealing 120,000 damage per second, which is the definition of overkill. As an example, I'm going to show you a clip where I'm running double impact and double or nothing. So not even the double time rate of fire increase. At round cap, round 55, take a look at how fast zombies are dying. Even armored zombies are going out quick. This is awesome. Even though I will say they weren't that bad to deal with before double tap came out. I'm just going to say we kind of overblew the whole high round situation in my opinion. But anyway, moving back to this graph here, this chart, in terms of time to kill, before double tap came out, we would kill a zombie in 0.76 seconds. Again, not that bad, pretty good. But now the fastest we could kill him with that double time and the double impact, 0.42 seconds. That's pretty good. In terms of kills per second, again, at health cap, we were at 1.32 kills per second. Not too bad. That's more than a kill per second. But now we could kill 2 1/3 zombies per second with all of this stuff. And the clip that I showed you, that's 2.12 kills per second. And if you want graphs instead of charts, this is all down here. I've done all of these things in graph form too. I think they look pretty nice. And you'll notice, I do want to point out, people were begging for double tap 2.0 because they wanted to double the damage. And yes, as you can see, this is not double damage here, 65 to 95. that's not double damage. Even 65 to 119, that's not quite double damage. It would need to be like up here a little bit more to really get double damage. So this really is just a minor tweak from Treyarch, and I think this might be perfect. And it might be Shattered Veil too. That's a map that's great. It's so nice not to have boss zombie spam. Thank you so much, Treyarch. But anyway, moving on to special enemies. This is your Manglers. These are your Doppelgasts. This is your Mimics. Using Vulnerability and the correct corresponding elemental damage, you could deal 8,000 damage by default, and then with double impact, you're dealing 10,000 damage per shot. Well, that's an average. That's an average. So it's actually going to be like 12,000 every other time, and then 8,000. So it's going to average to 10,000 damage with what you guys get it. So before that got us about 115 damage per second. That fares very well. You put on double time, double impact. On average, you're dealing over 200,000 damage per second to special enemies that have 150 health, which means before this update, before double tap, we could kill a special enemy, a Doppelgast, in about 1.3 seconds. Not bad. Again, at round cap, but now putting on everything, 0.72 seconds. That's how fast you could deal with the Doppelgast or the Manglers if the Mangler doesn't have armor. Again, perfect accuracy, critical shots, never missing a shot, all that good stuff. Kills per second, you're not getting a whole kill per second, but now with the maximum DPS, absolutely you could get 1.5 kills per second of a Doppelgast. That's nuts. But that's all well and good, but we weren't really too worried about that. We were worried about amalgams, right? And now amalgams, I have to say, I made a mistake, and elite enemies do not have, in the past, I've said that they've had 1.5 million health. That's not the case. They only have 1 million health. So I apologize. I got that wrong in quite a bit of videos. I'm actually really embarrassed about it. But again, assuming we have Vulnerability and we have the correct elemental damage, we're dealing the same damage per second to the amalgams and everything, and the elite enemies, the abominations, and what is the new one, the disciples. But with their increase in health, that's going to take us from about 8 seconds of killing them, which is, it's a fair bit, but just having double tap brings that down a couple seconds to 6 seconds. Putting on double impact on average, going to bring that down to 5 seconds. Increase in rate of fire, going to bring that down to under 5 seconds. You can destroy these things. I'm going to show you a clip of me killing a disciple. I don't think it was on, no, I'll show you a disciple and an amalgam. The disciple I don't think was on round 55, but man, it did so good. This kilo was awesome. And then I'll show you an amalgam as I was exfilling, because amalgams are there on the exfils. Again, I'd missed my shots. It wasn't all perfect accuracy, but man, it felt so good. And then the kills per second are kind of wishy-washy here. You don't really, that's just a fun stat to look at. But again, all the graphs are down here. You could see proportionally it makes a huge difference from 8 seconds to 4 seconds. That's crazy good. I love that it also stacks with CRYOFREEZE. CRYOFREEZE, if you don't know, frozen enemies by default, you deal more damage to frozen enemies, and there's an augment to further increase that damage. It's awesome. And so yes, you could freeze a zombie, get double or nothing with double impact on your second shot. So you could get like a crazy, like it's got to be more than double damage. It's insane. But now, as we said before, with double impact and double or nothing, which is a major and a minor augment, you get about a 35% increase in your damage. However, when we look at this double time rate of fire, you could see that when we pair it up with double impact and double time, we get a whopping 80% increase in our damage per second. Now, remember what I said earlier, damage per second. This double time is affecting the seconds, whereas the double or nothing is affecting the damage part of this equation. You might look at this 80% increase versus this 35% increase, and you might go, donuts, why would I choose anything other than this 80% increase? And that's when it comes down to personal preference. It might come down to the situation you're in. Because even though they might have similar or different damage per seconds, the double or nothing damage is instantaneous. It happens with one single bullet, as opposed to the rate of fire increase that happens over time. So yes, the rate of fire, you might be able to fire more bullets more quickly. You have to maintain your accuracy in order to get the maximum benefit of the rate of fire increase. Whereas with double or nothing, if you land a shot and you get double damage, you automatically get that double damage. And the situation this might be useful in might be sniper rifles or slower firing weapons, where yes, even the increase in rate of fire is useful. For example, the Sarkov was much better with double time on. However, if I use double or nothing instead, I might have been able to deal an incredible amount of damage instantaneously, which if you're getting cornered, if you want to kill a boss, if you want to deal damage immediately, that double or nothing augment might be the way to go over the rate of fire. Like I said, if you have a weapon that's just crazy recoil, you're missing a ton of shots, and guess what? I don't care how fast you fire if you're missing your shots because the center speed isn't good enough. You're not going to get your damage increase that you're looking for, the damage per second increase that you're looking for. So maybe with shotguns, maybe with snipers, maybe with some high recoil weapons, double or nothing might be more consistent for you. Like I said, these augments are like some of the most dynamic and versatile things. I'm sure I've forgotten something. I've spent days testing this. I've gone crazy testing this. Not only did they bring double tap back like I never thought they would, although I will say, I'm right in the sense that it's not 2.0. I always believe 2.0 they can never bring back because the double damage wouldn't be good. It would break the game. But this, they brought it back. It doesn't break the game. It's actually pretty freaking awesome. It's like, it might be my favorite perk in the game right now. Give me some turtle shell, give me some double tap, and I'm a happy donut. So let's recap. Base double tap will increase your rate of fire by 25%. This affects most wonder weapons except for the swords and the charging of the eye staff, which has the unfortunate consequence of actually accidentally nerfing the jet gun and sort of the beam smasher. But this also affects the hand cannon, and I suspect it'll affect the war machine. I just kind of forgot to test it. This does come with the hidden downside of, like I said, nerfing the jet gun a little bit, and also making your cooldown faster, get to overheating faster of your belt-fed LMGs. And while this doesn't make your recoil worse, your faster fire rate means you have to deal with recoil faster, which makes it harder to handle recoil. It doesn't make your recoil worse, it makes it harder to handle recoil. That's how I'm gonna say that. Double Jeopardy gives zombies a chance to insta-die once they've hit about 20% of their health. And this is affected by ammo mods, equipment, and guns, and even explosive weapons. It's really fun. Double Standard gives you a 100% a double damage to on all non-critical damage. Unfortunately, this does not affect the Dissector, wonder weapons, the explosive weapons like the GS-45, the LR-762, melee weapons, kill streaks, equipment, field upgrades, and unfortunately does not affect the Sentinel artifact boss fight. This does affect the damage you deal through armor. It does increase the Dragon's Breath and Slug non-critical damage, and this works on all of the other bosses. And all of this damage is affected by the CHF Barrel, Rapid Fire, Cryofreeze, and Vulnerabine Augment. Double Impact increases damage for successive shots. Once again, it is not affected by the Dissector, wonder weapons, explosive, kill streak, Sentinel artifact, all that stuff. You get a 3-second window to get a second shot on a zombie for a 50% increase in damage. You can miss a shot. You can even shoot another zombie and return to that zombie if it's within the 3 seconds and still get that bonus damage. This works against special and elite enemies and every other boss except for the Sentinel artifact. On average, this is a 25% increase in damage. Rapid Fire further increases your rate of fire to a 44% increase over your base non-double tap rate of fire. Once again, this has the same downsides with the jet gun and the belt fed and the recoil, but it also does affect the other wonder weapons and the hand cannon, I imagine the war machine. It's really, really fun and is by far one of the best damage per second increases we have. Double or nothing makes it so that 80% of the time you're dealing the same damage you always do. 5% of the time you're going to do 0 damage, and 15% of the time you're going to do double damage. Because of how the math works out, this is about a 10% increase in your damage. And once again, this is not affected by the D13 sector, wonder weapons, explosive weapons, melees, kill streak, equipment, field upgrades, and unfortunately the Sentinel artifact. However, all of the other bosses, slugs, maybe Dragon's Breath, and armor are indeed affected. Plus this one's just kind of fun. And finally, double play allows double kills a 10% chance to reward you with 2 rounds. However, this is insanely powerful when getting multi-kills and getting a lot of kills in a horde of zombies. 10% is the absolute lowest. You will never be playing in any sort of way where it's going to be anything remotely close to 10%. And of course, this is not affected by non-bullet weapons like the D13 sector, wonder weapons, explosive weapons, melee kills, kill streaks, equipment, and field upgrades. In terms of augment recommendations, have fun, beautiful people. I mean, it also looks like if you're running the D13 sector, wonder weapons, explosive weapons, it looks like you're going to be running the double time and the double jeopardy augments because, well, Nothing else works with those guys. However, if you are running normal bullet weapons, double impact is my go-to. Getting an average of 25% damage increase is fantastic. If it's a low recoil weapon, I'm definitely running the double time augment for that increase in rate of fire. If it's a high recoil weapon and I'm not comfortable hitting all my shots, or if I'm training in a really tight close quartered area, I might just go with double or nothing. If I'm running a shotgun, I am running nothing except double standard because that 100% increase is basically double damage because there's no headshot multiplier. And then of course you have that like 15% chance of increasing that to like quad damage. That's insane. Same goes for sniper rifles too, but maybe with sniper rifles and shotguns, especially that Milestrom, I don't know how you say it, double play might be the way to go to get your ammo back. Every single one of these augments has a use case. Yes, double Jeopardy, double play might not be the most useful, but they absolutely cooked with double tap. This is not overpowered. It's a little bit easier. The game's a little bit easier, I'll be honest. But man, guns are fun again, and getting to round 55, if you haven't with a normal bullet weapon, try out Shattered Veil, train in the courtyard, train in the rock Stonehenge area. It's incredibly fun. Use some double tap, experiment. Let me know your favorite double tap setups. Let me know what I forgot. I feel like I tried to cover as much as I could, beautiful people. Join the Discord and send me your best double tap clips or your boss fights, whatever, link in the description. And if you are hungry for more analytical videos, be sure to check out this one and stay beautiful.